Hey guys, welcome to Two Bald Knobs, the ultimate Ork Podcast with me, 6+ Stevo, and I'm joined with my good friend Skarnir.
How are you doing? What's the crack?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Yourself, what have you been up to lately?
Oh Jesus, I've been working away, slaving away, man. I'm telling you, I've gotten a little bit of hobby done. I've been getting those Conquest magazines, so I've been painting my first Death Guard, Plague Marines, they're not Death Guard. I've been painting my first Plague Marines. I've been giving that a go. Some Primaris, trying to get some looters done before the Codex comes out, if it ever comes out. You know what I mean? And, apart from that, mostly just working. You know yourself.
Yes, yeah, we were just chatting before we started, weren't we? The work schedule for both of us lately has been pretty intense. Yeah, much like yourself, mate. I've been working heavy. You can probably hear it in our voices on this show, guys, that we are both a little run down and tired, but we are soldiers. We will persevere for your entertainment. Yeah, much like yourself, mate. I've been getting my Conquest magazines. I haven't got as far as you with painting. I've been building them though. And yeah, the Death Guard models, I wasn't sort of overly interested in them, but now I've built them, I actually really like them. They're really cool models, actually. What else have I been doing? Played my second game of Kill Team last night, actually, against my brother. And he's new to the hobby. So that was an interesting experience, actually.
That's good crack, like, because that's my mentality with, we meant to talk about Conquest magazines a lot, but it seems to be what we're both doing at the moment. I made a video talking about how even if you just got like the first 4 issues, it gives you everything you need. And if you bought a Kill Team rulebook, it's like, there you go, man, you're sorted. Like, if you had
totally.
Yeah, because you get everything. Like, they give you like paper measuring tapes and dice, and there's enough in 4 magazines for both teams. Like the Primaris is nearly 100 points between the Intercessors and the Reavers. You probably need to boost up the Plague Marines a little bit, but it's a good start.
Yeah, you're right there. I think what you get with the Intercessors and the Reavers gives you a nice, neat. You can get 100-point kill team out of that, or just around that point. But yeah, like I say, the Death Guard, you need a little bit more because the Poxwalkers are 3 points each. So you need a little bit more to buff that up. But yeah, the Conquest magazine and Kill Team just seem to go together beautifully. Yeah, they complement each other nicely, let's say.
Especially for people who, it's aimed at people who are starting off in the hobby. If you don't have the patience, like, I know the magazine in and of itself will teach you how to play 40k, or if you're impatient like me and you just want to get stuck in and playing like full games of something, Kill Team's a good start. You know what I mean? And you can also dabble with other factions relatively easy. It's like, oh, I want to try Guardsmen, I'll buy a box of them and away you go, you know?
Definitely. And 40k, the Conquest magazine is great, but it's like we discussed in the last episode, it's largely aimed at kids and people really at that very entry level. But I think most players, even players new to the game of a certain age, are going to want to move past that, basic level stuff pretty quickly. Like I say, for children, it's fine, learning very basic, very stripped down rules and stuff. But Kill Team's a great way for sort of, let's say, the slightly older gamer that catches on a bit quicker, because it's easier to get into because of the smaller scale of it, but there is complexity in there and there's depth, and there's a lot of satisfaction to be had. Yeah, last night's game, oh my God, that was such good fun. I have not had so much fun playing Games Workshop games for a long time, actually. We had a blast last night playing. It was my second game, his first game. My Orcs took on his Mechanicus force. I got absolutely decimated again, so my Kill Team track record thus far is naught.
It's not the May West.
No, it's pretty horrendous. I mean, I think my first game against the Thousand Suns, I didn't kill a single model. This game, I killed 2. Actually, no, I killed 1 because one of them, he killed himself with his plasma gun. Wounded a couple of guys, so it wasn't as much of a massacre, but it was, I was still, I got beaten down pretty severely, so I've got a lot to learn. Kill Team is a very different game from 40k, and I am struggling to grasp that when it comes to playing. I'm in the movement phase. I'm moving I think I'm still in that 40k mode with the sort of move, shoot, charge, and I've got to remember that it doesn't work like that. You know, I keep leaving my orcs out in the open, and they get gunned down mercilessly, and it's savage.
I suppose that's the pros and cons of being into the gaming sort of 40k or just gaming in general scene is, you know yourself, if you've played over a few editions, you have to sort of knock the rust. It takes you a little bit longer to knock the rust out. It's like, oh, actually, we're not playing 40k. Because I found exactly the same thing. I've only played 2 games of Kill Team. I'm absolutely biting at the chomp to get a few more in because it is great crack. Yeah, I found the same. It's like, oh no, you know, you'll have yourself in that mentality where you'll be moving guys up and then expecting to like shoot and then charge, and then you're like, oh yeah, he's gonna move next, so obviously he'll move to a more tactical position, and then the next thing you know, you're standing there out in the open. You might as well be pissing into the wind at that stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I like last night I got caught out like that. Something chronic. It was horrendous, and it was my first experience of fighting against Mechanicus as well. And geez, those guys have got some tasty firepower. I was blown away by their weaponry, actually, like literally blown away by it. I think the first turn he killed both my knobs. He killed he picked out the top guys in my squad, and just his Overwatch was horrendous. He rolled so many sixes. It was painful. But do you know what? It genuinely did not matter because we had such a laugh playing the game. We had some really cool cinematic moments. I had one of my old boys with a big shooter up on the balconies the whole game, firing down. His sniper was taking shots at him all game. He took so many shots and he just could not kill him. And it was just hilarious. And when he finally killed him at the end, he was just like ecstatic about it. And it's just, he had a guy that killed 3 of my orcs in one turn from Overwatch, one after the other, with some just incredible Overwatch skills. But it was just some really cool cinematic sort of moments, you know, good storytelling moments in the game. And it's what we all play the game for. And it was, we made some memories in that game last night, I think. And it was a really successful first game for him. And I think it's definitely got him into wanting to play more of it. So it was a win-win. Although I didn't win, but I didn't mind because I had a great night and it was great fun. And having played that second game, I bloody love Kill Team. It's really, really good game.
I find the same myself. I've only played 2 games, but I found myself in a similar position where I was playing Gene Stealer Cultist against Mechanicus in the first game. My friend was playing Mechanicus or Mechanicum or whatever they call it. You know the guys who came in the core box.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the same for me. They were eviscerating me with the shooting, and it's like, whatever, it's go crack. And the second game, I played Chaos Cultists with Chaos Space Marines against my friend's Orks, because he wanted to play Orks. So I was like, okay, I'll mix it up. I'll play something that isn't Orks. You know, I don't want it to be too boring. And that was... Yeah. Same thing, some interesting moments. I had a cultist who like took a chopper to the face, stood his ground, and then knocked an orc out with the butt of his rifle or whatever. You know, it's really, I find Kill Team plays into that sort of those little moments where it's very one-on-one. That skirmish, you know, where each guy really counts.
Definitely.
There aren't really throwaway troops in the game. I find it's like everybody counts. Every little dice roll. Like the second game I played, it literally came down to a dice roll on whether it was a win for him or a win for me. Like the very last dice roll of the game, it was like, could his knob destroy one of the objectives that belonged to me? And if not, I won. And it was just I haven't had a game like that in a very long time where it's literally down to the wire to the very end. Because normally when you're playing 40k, it's like, after about turn 3, you know what way the game's going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Although I find things in 40k, using things like the Maelstrom missions with the cards and stuff, that lessens that somewhat. I find if you play I can't remember what they're called now, but the standard missions, not using like the tactical cards and things that you draw each turn, I find the games, like you say, it becomes very clear sort of who's winning and who's losing, but those cards kind of keep it fresh. But yeah, Kill Team is definitely, I think you're going to definitely, like you say, have those swings and roundabouts moments and up and down moments and not know which way it's going to go. And It's and do you know what the great thing is? If you do have a fairly quick game and you get pounded and the game's over quite short, it's a sort of game where you can say, fancy another crack.
Exactly.
Because it's quite a short game. It's just, I love it. I just think they've really struck gold with Kill Team, and I think it was Beerin in 40k that said in his videos the other day, one of his videos, that he is actually sort of coming to the point where he prefers it over regular 40k, and it's early days yet, but I will always play 40k and definitely enjoy that and get a lot of enjoyment from that. But I think for me, the accessibility of Kill Team, the sort of the more detail of the individual characters and stuff, I think it might become my new favourite game. Like I say, I'm only 2 games in, but what I've played so far, I'm absolutely loving it. And I like you, I can't wait for my 3rd game, because I've learned so much already, and I've learned some painful lessons with the Orks, and I know my tactics need to change quite dramatically if I'm going to stand any sort of chance in my next game.
Well, the future of Kill Team, it's interesting because we've had 2 expansions now. We've the Rogue Trader expansion, which seems to be just 2 new teams and a new board. From what I gather, now, forgive my ignorance if I'm missing out on any key points that that expansion brought to the game, but the one that interests me a bit more is the commanders that are coming into the game, that they're bringing in the expansion. That expansion looks interesting. I'm a bit apprehensive, to be honest. I don't want Kill Team to just turn into a Hero Hammer, where it's like, here's my Death Watch 2+ armor save hero, he'll just tank your Kill Team. It's like, that'll just kill it for me, you know what I mean?
Totally. Same for me as well. I'm interested in it, as in sort of seeing what it's all about and sort of covering my thoughts on it and stuff. But I'm already sort of at the point where I think, do you know what? I don't see myself buying that expansion, at least not straight away. For the moment, I've only just scratched the surface of vanilla Kill Team, as it will forever be known now. But I've got so much still to learn in that, and that game is just the game that comes in the box has got so much more to give yet. I'm not ready to expand on it with anything else, and also, like you say, I totally agree. I do not want to play Hero Hammer. It doesn't interest me in the slightest. I want to develop my grunt troops and my characters in that game, and have my sort of knob as the leader of my Kill Team. I don't really want to field a war boss in that small, tight environment. I think those characters are going to dominate heavily. I think you throw like 1 or 2 guys against any kind of lord, they're going to get absolutely decimated. So it will just become character on character. But like I said, I might be being a bit too negative and stuff without knowing that much about it. There might be some quite severe modifications and stuff to balance them within the game. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like yourself. I'm very apprehensive of that. It looks interesting though, and it gives, and it's great that we get Gruck Face Ripper as a individual model now. That's cool. Although he's not Gruck, he's someone else now.
He's rebranded. Yeah, what's his new name now that
they've rebranded that model? Like, God, there's so many bloody times now. Gitz Gob or something like that. I think.
It's a mouthful of something or other.
Yeah. Why he couldn't just be Gruck, I don't know. But yeah, at least the model lives on, because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous model. And currently the only way to buy him is with a set of knobs. Previously, you could only get him in the Stormclaw box game, I believe.
Yeah, I only just cracked one of them open, yeah.
Yeah, it's about time they've released him as an individual kit, because I think he's a gorgeous war boss model that a lot of all players love to get their hands on. And so that's going to be cool to have the option to be able to buy him like that, and to see what other commanders and stuff they bring out as well. I spoke about on one of my videos recently the possibility we could get some sort of Grot commander or some new characters, specifically made for Kill Team. That would be interesting if they brought something sort of new into it rather than just sort of repackaging old models. But we'll wait and see. There's a lot to be announced on that yet. The sort of the details of it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, it just depends. The fact that he's being rebranded now just tells me that he's not going to be in the Ork Codex, which is interesting in and of itself, because we're not hearing much about the Ork Codex lately, are we?
Oh, that's killing me now, man. That's killing me. Yeah, it's for those that don't know, and why would anyone know? But it is my birthday on the 2nd of October. Sorry, Orktober. So, as you can imagine, I'm quite an excited little bundle of energy right now.
You're a happy little bunny.
Yeah, it's my birthday. It's time when I can start asking for things I want. And yeah, Orktober on the horizon. It's obvious what I want. Lots of orky goodness. But basically, my birthday is going to be pretty empty because I've instructed the missus to hold off because I want to wait and see what's announced, what's coming out. Obviously, I want the Codex. We've got Speed Freaks coming at some point, potentially new models. I just don't know yet, so I'm not ready to make an informed decision on what I want my birthday present to be. But yeah, just the lack of news currently it's killing me. It's eating me up inside. I need something. I need pre-orders, damn it.
Yeah, that's it. It's interesting. There's quite a few people who are at the same stage where it's like there's no pre-orders. The preview for the Orktober White Dwarf has been shown, and the last time I remember an Orktober being announced, it was literally the Orcs took over White Dwarf, and it was Orktober. You know what I mean?
You're bloody right. I'm excuse the language, but I was fucking pissed off with the fucking White Dwarf, man. What the fuck? It's October issue of White Dwarf. Oh, hello. Click on that. Boom. What is it? Fucking Sigma shit and fucking
Nighthaunt
and shit.
Or something
Look,
like.
Yeah, if you're into that stuff, that's great. It looks cool. I'm not going to take anything away from that stuff. There's some gorgeous models in there. It looks like a cool game. Hats off to you if you play it. Good luck to you. But it's not about you right now. It's about us. We've been waiting for fucking years for this. You need to let us have our month. It's Orktober. And what do we get? We get a couple of pages of someone's, admittedly, very cool-looking grot army. But is that seriously it? Like, gee, White Dwarf, what the fuck are you playing at? That grot army that's featured in the magazine, that looks really cool. I know that looks cool. I like that. I know grot army, but if that kind, the way they said it in there, oh, and to celebrate October, we take a look at so and so's grot army. Are you taking the piss right now? Seriously, that's not what we came to see. Right.
I don't know. They might be going super secret squirrel and waiting until the pre-releases. But then, when will people actually have the White Dwarf in their hands? What is it like? They should be getting them the next few days, probably.
Yeah, it'll be any day now, won't it?
So we'll know soon enough. Either Games Workshop are playing it super secret; they're not letting anything out, or it could be a fact that maybe this stuff isn't coming out in October, or maybe stuff's being knocked back. I know, man. I'm just trying to think of the scenarios, being devil's advocate here.
I think that would be, they'd have some egg on their face if they have renamed a month of the year for this. There is no going back on that now. They've made a rod for their own back. If they don't give us something in October, they're going to be there's going to be a lot of very
some nerd rage across the country.
Oh my god, yes, I'll be leading that one. I mean, I'm getting all sort of ratty and rowdy about it and everything, but I think because what I thought was going to happen was sort of in the run-up to October, I thought we would start getting the announcements and the unveils and stuff, and then the pre-orders would go live, and so it would be sort of, people would be getting their first Ork deliveries on the 1st of October. You know, that's kind of what I saw happening. I think probably what's going to happen more likely is that from the 1st of October, I predict that's when we're going to get some big reveals, some pre-orders open, and then that first week of October, we're going to be getting drip-fed tidbits of information and things, and then, so I don't know, my prediction that is based on nothing else other than my brain is that the 7th of October will be when we get stuff in our hands. I don't know whether that's accurate prediction or just wishful thinking. We'll see.
Well, were people not raging about the pre-orders? What came up on pre-order in on Games Workshop itself? It's what's that box set? The Death or something? It's the Eldar and the Primaris, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah. If I wasn't tired before this podcast, I'm tired now because oh my God, what a boring looking set. Sorry if you're a Space Marine player or an Elder player. Again, that's fine. But geez, that set looks boring and dull. I'm sure it's great value, like all their sets are. And if you love Space Marines or you love Elder, then you're going to be in your element there. But yeah, I don't know. That was a bit of an anti-climax announcing that. I mean, where's the boxed game with Orks versus anyone? It doesn't really matter as long as it's got Orks in the box.
That's an interesting point because I originally thought back in the likes of June when they announced that we'd be getting an Ork Codex, I was thinking to myself, Stormclaw box set, reboot sort of thing where it was Orks against Space Wolves, and that was the start of that whole campaign. I thought we might be getting something like that. Who knows? We may on the next pre-release, maybe next weekend, we might be getting Speed Freaks on pre-release and the Codex and whatever other tidbits they have for us. The Warboss on Strike. You know what I mean? And they may have a box set like that. We don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I don't see them releasing a boxed game of, like we were just saying, Orks versus another faction. Yet, at least. Because we're getting the boxed game of Speed Freaks. Although one of my wish list videos talked about the possibility of a new Start Collecting set. I think there's quite a strong possibility of that, and I would love to see that if we had a new Start Collecting set with some new stuff in it alongside the Codex. Oh my God, take my money right now. But I don't know. It's annoying because the whole idea of these podcasts is that we talk about all this Ork news, and on this episode
the build
we don't
up,
have a lot to talk about.
It's like,
our frustration of the lack of news.
We'll talk about the build up as it comes along. And it's like, maybe we'll get a box set, but it's Wake the Dead. That's the name of that box set. Wake the Dead.
They'll need to wake me up by the time they announce anything, I tell you.
By the time any of the Ork stuff comes out, it's like either the Ork players will have either raged to death or fallen asleep at that stage.
Yeah.
Depending on falling asleep at that stage, it would. Yeah, it's hilarious. Just some people are losing their nut, and I can understand why. Like some people are absolutely losing the plot.
Let's face it, we've been patient. I mean, I made a video months and months ago, just trying to talk to some of the saltier Ork players out there to appeal to them to come on, guys, let's be patient. We've got good stuff coming, and but even my patience is starting to wane now because they've teased some of this stuff early on. They showed us some good stuff, and then it just went dead. It's just been nothing ever since. But I guess we're just excited and we're just hyper and we're like kids before Christmas, and it's not actually Christmas yet. We're not actually in October yet, so I still think the month is going to be good. I think it will kick off. I think the 1st of October, that's my prediction. 1st of October, Warhammer community is going to have some big reveal. Here you go, guys. Here's your Codex. Here's some tidbits of information. Pre-orders go live now. Yeah. Oh, I hope so.
Just go mental with it. It really does depend, doesn't it? It could go either way. I'm not too sure. I reckon, it may be at the stage where quite a lot of people, myself included, we're just kind of... I think it gets to a stage where you're excited, then after a while you're a bit apprehensive, and then you know what I mean, you get a little bit pissed off. I think there's you go through different stages of it, and then you just sort of lose interest, you know what I mean, where people are just the hell with it and whatever else, blah blah blah. Because yeah, you'll come across that with people. So I think different people are at different stages, which is why we're seeing different reactions off of people. I'm trying to just keep it together, you know.
Well, we kind of. I mean, it was you that said it to me before. That we're kind of on hold with our armies and things at the moment because we don't want to buy anything. I mean, like I said, my birthday coming up. If there was none of these new releases, I'd be putting in my orders now for my birthday presents. I'd be asking for some mega knobs or some mech guns or something to add to my army. But I'm like, I don't want to ask for anything in case the models change or get updated, or in case something better is announced and released.
Or the clan rules.
Or,
That's what I'm more interested in. Is what are the clan rules themselves 100%? Because I'll want to build my list around my Blood Axe clan.
yes, yeah.
So I don't want, like, I pretty much have multiples of every entry in the codex, but I don't want to start painting a unit. I'm like yourself. It's like you don't want to buy and paint a unit, then to find out when the codex comes out, and you're like, actually, I want to build a totally different list, and it's like,
yeah.
you know, you'll have gotten miniatures painted and miniatures built, but for, like, straight off the bat, I can see myself, as soon as we get the codex, I'm going to be making a 2,000 point list, and I'm going to be aiming to get that painted as soon as possible. You know what I mean? I'll build a list, that'll be the list I'll want to play, and then I'll go from there and then add on to it. But, you know, it just depends what way the construction of the army will be. Now, I don't think it's going to be too crazy. You know, I could always see there's probably going to be looters in there. There's probably going to be shooter boys in my list. That's just the way I like to play. But then after that, the peripheral stuff, you know what I mean? You don't know which way it's going to go. And especially for newer players it's even worse. They're like, you see it so many times on social media where guys are coming in, they're like, oh yeah, I'm like super interested in orcs, you know, what should I be buying, what should I be collecting, that type of thing, what clans should I pick, what colours, and quite a lot of people are like, look dude, there's nearly a codex out, don't splurge too much, buy little tidbits here and there that you like, and then just bide your time, you know what I mean? So there's a bit of that going on, even with the newer players coming in, and then the veterans as well. I think there's quite a lot of people waiting at that starting line, waiting for the shot, and then once it goes, I think it's just going to be pell-mell. It's going to be madness. It's going to be awesome.
Oh yes, yeah. It's going to be the cash registers are going to be ringing with Ork sales. That's for damn sure. I imagine at the moment the sales of any Ork related products through GW have taken a bit of a hit. Although we're still seeing things, sold out on the website and stuff. And does that tell us something? Are things sold out because they've stopped producing them because they're prepared? They're just about to replace that with something new, or is it just a case that they have sold out as they seem to sell out of lots of products quite regularly these days? I don't know what's going on with their stock levels or their production lines.
Could be either way, to be honest.
I mean, every time any model is sold out now on the GW site, there's always, posts and things on forums and videos. Oh, look, this is sold out now. Is this model soon to be replaced and stuff? And I think people sometimes read a bit too much into it. But it is interesting because you would have thought that currently Ork-related stuff would be on hold, or maybe people do buy up, knowing that Orks are about to become potentially a very good, possibly top-tier army. Who knows? People buy and collect for different reasons, don't they? But
it just depends. I know someone who does third-party bits, and he said that since the codex has been put on hold, since it's been put off, that he's noticed like it's dried up quite a lot, with people waiting. So I would expect that the sales of Orks isn't the May West at the moment for Games Workshop, but then, like I said, I expect the floodgates to sort of open in that regard once the codex is out, once people have that copy in their hand and they know what lists they're going to be building, and you get new players coming in, and you know what I mean, it'll be their first Ork Codex probably, because the index isn't exactly it's not the same as a codex. It won't have the fluff, the stories about the characters and stuff. You know what I mean? It won't have, your first Ork Codex. Like, I remember mine was the 4th edition one, and I still to this day love that codex. And I think maybe it's a bit of nostalgia, but then, the 7th edition Codex Reels was absolutely dire, so I don't think it's just nostalgia, but I think there's a special sort of bond with people and the forced sort of codex that they buy for their
Yeah.
forced army. So I think
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. You're talking about the 4th edition Codex, actually. That just literally, I've opened that 'cause it just came through the post today, ready for my next video. That's one advantage of these delays with this Ork stuff, is it's given me time to work on other projects video-wise, working on going back through time, covering the old Ork Codexes. But yeah, I just had a little flip through it just now, and it, like you said, nostalgia was just flooding out those pages, and I was looking through and I thought, damn, this codex was good. This was a good codex. There's some really cool fluff and lore in there, and the way it's laid out, and some of the rules, and there's some good shit in that codex. I look forward to that video. Will be coming out very soon. Shameless plug there, but that's going to be a good fun one to film, that one.
and it's a solid one. Yeah, it's definitely a solid one. Like, it's not perfect. I know that codex wasn't perfect, but I have to say, out of the last few that we've had, it's probably been the most solid.
It was downhill from there, that's for sure. From that to 7th, it was, whoa, it nosedived. For me, the first one I had was the 3rd edition. That was the first Ork Codex I had. I remember the wafer thin one, but
yeah,
it wasn't about quantity with that one. It was some damn good quality within those pages.
Well, that one had some interesting rules in and of itself, where you could actually take like Imperial vehicles and just you'd pay the points for them. So you could buy like a basilisk, for those of you who aren't old enough to remember. But I reckon most people who listen are probably long enough in the tooth. And I apologize if you're a youth, we'll explain it to you. But you could actually get a basilisk, and it would just have worse ballistic skill, and you could pay for upgrades and stuff. Quite a lot of the players who were playing with that 3rd edition codex were disappointed that the looted wagons had changed into 4th edition. And there's always some form of change. There's always some form of kickback. Like, I'm sure there's people who enjoyed 7th, and the massive change that we've had into 8th, we will have lost some people, but it seems to have brought more old school gamers back than we've lost, because there was a massive change between 2nd edition going into 3rd edition. And I think quite a lot of the old school hobbyists, just because of the way 40k played in and of itself, there was a massive change in the core of it. Like, it was pretty much like going from 7th edition to 8th edition. Going from 2nd edition to 3rd edition was pretty much the same, but they actually included the indexes in the core rulebook, because there wasn't as many factions back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember it well. That was when I first properly got into 40k, was 3rd edition. I've got a lot of fond memories of that codex. And yeah, 8th edition, bringing people back. I mean, it brought me back. 6th and 7th was my sort of, that was my period where I had sold off everything. I left the hobby. I always had an interest in it, and sort of, and I dabbled and played a very small amount of sort of 6th and 7th edition. But no, those editions were not for me, especially 7th. Not a fan at all.
Oh my god, the suppressed memories are coming back.
And I know people that love that edition and pine for that edition back and love everything about it. But let's just say they're the sort of players that would have enjoyed all the rules that you could exploit in that edition. We're talking Death Stars, we're talking ridiculous formations and detachments with overpowered suit. Just the thought of it makes my skin crawl. No, it's not for me.
I think I spent most of 7th edition playing against my Scumgrod. So for those of you who don't know, in Orky terminology, your Scumgrod is your favorite enemy. So if you have a mate who you play against a lot, and he's like your favorite enemy. So for Stevo, it would be Reroll Joe, would be his Scumgrod. It's not negative connotation. I'm just explaining to the people. It's not a negative term. It's not negative connotation. It's just old school Orky terminology for your favorite enemy. So my Scumgrod back in 7th edition played Elder, And oh my god, the psychic phase.
Oh shit!
It was amazing. It's like, how many dice have you got there, mate? 13. Jesus Christ. I mean, if I got 2, yeah, all right, go on, away you go. It was fun. It was fun. Like, you make friends. That's what I like about the hobby. Like, you'll make friends that normally in life you'd probably never meet those type of people. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
From all
definitely.
walks of life.
I've made friendships. I mean, like I say, Reroll Joe. I met him through the hobby. I worked with his cousin. We got talking at work about how we were into the hobby, and then through him, I met his brother and his cousin. We sort of had a small gaming group, and yeah, I've made lifelong friends through the hobby. It's just yeah, it's an amazing hobby to be in, and there are some amazing people to meet out there.
Truly, like,
I'm sure.
And it's all across the board: males, females, families where they're introducing their kids. There's like, it's across the spectrum. Like, it's not just a game for blokes. You know what I mean? Which is, I think, the stereotype that quite a lot of people assume.
I've got to. I'm sorry, I've got to interrupt you there. I've got to interrupt you because Skarnir, your ability to segue from topic to topic is astounding. My hat's off to you, sir. So yeah, the women in the hobby is a topic we definitely wanted to cover in this podcast, and yeah, your segue abilities are astounding, my friend.
Top notch, I think, is the terminology you're looking for, my friend. Top notch.
Because this is so right, yeah. Women in the hobby. This is a topic. It's a minefield. This one, isn't it?
Well, I think the terminology I used was kryptonite. This is talking about genders or that whole minefield. It's like, are you sure you want to talk about this, mate? Are you sure?
It was me that actually brought up the idea of talking about this one and having this as a topic. As we've discussed, it's a bit of a slow news week regarding orcs. So we wanted a topic for something to talk about, and I came up with the bright idea of, well, let's discuss women in the hobby and everything around that. And I remember your approach is, whoa, Jesus. This is going to be interesting. There is a lot of women in the hobby now. I think a lot more than there ever used to be. And it's definitely a really, really good thing. Let's just say that right from the off. It's a really cool thing. I've never personally met one in real life.
Have you not?
Not a woman, but a woman in the hobby.
I thought in general, I was like, Jesus, you live a sheltered life there.
Yeah. I long to meet one. This is probably coming across as the cliched nerd now. But no, it's I've never my partner, she knows about the hobby and she supports me in the hobby and everything, and has an interest as far as wanting to know what I'm up to and seeing, and I think she shows an interest most of the time to humour me, but no, I've never come across it other than through YouTube and people that we know through YouTube. I mean, I think it's a great thing. And what I'm seeing a lot of currently on YouTube and in forums and things is this talk of the SJWs, social justice warriors.
Well, okay, hold on. Before you start jumping into the SJW end of it, I'd like to add in my little bit talking about just females before you go down to that sort of social justice warrior sort of rabbit hole. I have some female friends who are actually wargamers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just wargamers, but they're good crack, like. And I think it's funny that it'll be the opposite. Where you're into the wargaming and your missus isn't, it'll be a case of, I know at least one of them where she's into the wargaming and has been for nearly all of her life, and she's really into the painting and stuff, and her partner, you know what I mean, he has different interests, because we're all human at the end of the day. Different people have different interests, and I think diversity You know, the more different people we have in the hobby, the more diverse it's going to be, because it's all going to be about the ideas that we all have. You know, you might have a concept for something, and then even just, you know, if it's not just guys and girls or whatever, it's just people's different perspectives. I think the problem is with our society today is it's a lot of it is labeling people into groups, and then there sort of seems to be this sort of battle of the sexes sort of that's being projected, but I don't think mainstream society is like that. You know what I mean? We have to.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I
we
fully
all
agree with you.
we're all human at the end of the day. That's my idea on it.
Totally,
You know? Like
totally.
if you're an asshole, it doesn't matter to me whether you're a man or a woman. You know, if you're being an asshole, you're an asshole. If you're cool, you know, we get on well, I don't care what gender you are. If you know what I mean. If you enjoy the same hobbies as me, I don't really care. It's like, do we have a good game? At the end of the day, that's all that matters to me. But obviously, some people don't share that same opinion for some reason. Why? I have no idea. But to me, the more people who get into the hobby, the more diverse it becomes, the better. You know?
Oh, 1,000,000%. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, definitely. Young, old, male, female, different races, different sexualities, whatever. Like you say, and I share that same view across, you know, not just the hobby but life. Just it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, and you know, like I say, we are all individuals at heart, and we all, you know, we love playing this hobby with little plastic soldiers and stuff. And it's, I mean, the hobby in itself is quite a niche product. You know, we are quite a sort of a, although the nerd culture has become a lot more mainstream these days, it used to be a lot more sort of underground and sort of hidden. And it was traditionally thought of as a hobby for sort of nerdy white males, let's say, as a thing. But it's definitely now, it's so much more mainstream, and it attracts so many more people, and it can be nothing but a good thing, and it's great. And yeah, it just shouldn't matter at all.
But I just think it's interesting how people will project things onto the hobby itself. It's like, oh, why isn't there female space marines? You know, or even yeah, I know that's a hot topic in and of itself. But it's like,
yeah, this is where I was sort of heading with the sort of these, as I'm seeing a lot, and this is why I wanted to talk about it a little bit, because I'm seeing a lot of these videos talking about. Until very recently, I didn't know what SJW stood for. I didn't know what it was. It's a term that's only very recently become sort of known to me as this social justice warrior thing. And I try to fathom out what all this stuff was about. And I start seeing videos talking about feminist 40K and talking about the need for diversity within the hobby and stuff, and how that needs to be reflected within the miniature line itself and things. And this is where, for me, these are people that do not reflect, like you said, the everyday, the mainstream people, male, female, regardless. The need to change the hobby and change the things within it, I don't think is necessary. I don't think the fact that we have that Space Marines are male because of the lore and the fluff and the way they were created and the backstory that's been created over many, many years, needs to be forcefully changed to suit a demographic, or to, in some way, we have to do this so that women can feel included in the hobby. I think there's many women in the hobby that are perfectly happy to play, and there's lots of female representation within it, and that's fine. And if they wanted to have female Space Marines, then do it for the right reasons, let's say. I mean, you go into things like movies and stuff, you know, I don't think we need to remake Ghostbusters with a female cast just because you want to do that to please a certain crowd. That's the wrong reason to do it.
Oh, you've triggered them now. Oh, Jesus, the comment section. You're on your own on this one, mate. You're on your good luck. I can hear the shovel. I can hear that grave, me and Doug. Like, did.
I've gone all Gamza.
I don't know. See, the thing is, while I understand that the lore is the way it is, and it has been like that for a long time, I wouldn't be on the same lines where it shouldn't change. Like, look at the likes of the massive changes that they've done with the even just coming into 8th edition, the big rift they brought in, the Primaris Marines. You know what I mean? Anything can change in 40k, I think. But like yourself, I think it shouldn't be sort of the narrative shouldn't be driven by. I'm trying to find a way to phrase this without sounding like a bigoted gobshite. I think it's the land we live in. It's the land of social media, where like the shoutiest people seem to portray, it's groups of, you know what I mean, where it's like when you think of Warhammer 40k players, you're going to social media, you're going to think of like the guys who are the most shoutiest. And I think that's the problem with labeling people and branding people is 80 to 90% of people will just watch videos. They're not going to comment. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of the problem, is that we like to bunch people into groups, and then out of those groups only a small minority are actually vocal, and then that sort of paints our opinions of the group as a whole. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just worry that we box people up and brand them and dismiss them off too easily.
I think as well, yeah, like you say, it's the vocal minority, I think, as well, that pushes some of these agendas and things on all different aspects of, whether it be a hobby or the movie industry or computer games or anything like that, really, any of these sort of entertainment sort of products. And it is a vocal minority, and you've got these very strong sort of vocal minorities that sway from one side to the other. And most of us are somewhere in the middle, where we don't really care. We just want to enjoy the hobby or enjoy a good movie. Or
you just want to get on with your life,
Cool. Definitely. And if that means, and yeah, I don't want to sort of have political agendas and things like that forced down our throat in something we do for fun and we play for fun. And it's, I don't know. It seems like the social justice warriors, there's battles that are much more worth fighting than trying to get some certain types of models made to represent a race or a sex or whatever. This isn't fighting for equal rights in the right to vote or equal pay or something like that. It's a hobby of plastic soldiers. It's not really that important. It's something we do for fun.
It just depends, I think. I don't mean to cut you off. It just depends. Like, if they start making female orcs, I'd be like, what the fuck, lol? Or female tyrannids, I'd be like, this literally doesn't fit the fucking lore. You know what I mean? Because I think half the problem is, as humans, we project our sex onto things like nids are asexual. So with the likes of the Tervigon, the way that they birth other tyrannids, terminology like people were using us, oh no, my Tervigon, I rolled badly, it won't birth anymore, it's gone into menopause. I'm like, well, wait, hold on. It's like, these are all monsters. They're not even from our fucking galaxy, and yet the terminology that people will use, we sexualize them because it births monsters, therefore it must be female. Oh, it's not birthing them anymore, therefore it's in its menopause. I'm like, that's not how I view them. They're tyrannids. It's the same with orcs. While orcs are termed boys, if you look into the lore, they're all asexual. They don't reproduce. You know what I mean? So the likes of female orcs,
they don't even have genitals.
They don't have worky bits. So between orcs and tyrannids, and be like wanting to have female necrons and stuff, it's like, they're all robot bodies. Where I suppose, necrons, I don't know. Necrons is a weird one. Eldar, yeah, more, there's probably not.
Necrons would be a hard sell.
Female necrons would be interesting, as long as they don't bring in the boob plate, because that just does not work. And then it's like Imperial Guard, like, I can understand there's not very many Imperial Guard females, but then you have to take into account a lot of people, I think, project modern day military onto the Imperial Guard, but the Imperial Guard is made up of the whole of the likes of Cadia, where it's like all of them man, woman, you know, if you could get conscripted in, you got conscripted in, and it's the same thing again where boot plate wouldn't matter. So a female Cadian guard and a male Cadian guard in the same armor, in the same helmets, you know, pretty much look exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's things like that. They're going to be bringing back Sisters of Battle, which I think is great because I know people who've collected Sisters of Battle, both male and female, who've been waiting forever for them. So they're finally doing that. It took Games Workshop a survey to finally get the point on that one that people wanted Sisters of Battle. So I don't mind. I wouldn't actually mind if they did more females in some of the ranges because it would actually tie into the lore itself. Like I said, with Imperial Guard and stuff like that, that type of thing. I don't see a problem with that because it would tie into the populations of those planets. Because realistically, like, what's the population of the planets? It's like, I think there's slightly more females than males, something like that. Don't quote me on it, but what little knowledge I have collected, I'm sure I heard that somewhere along the lines that either the split's about 50-50 or it's slightly more in the females' favor. So it, you know, like I said, if we were talking about Imperial populations defending their own planets, I'd expect to see, like, I'd expect to see more female cultists. I'd expect to see more female Gene Stealer cultists. You know what I mean? Where it makes sense. Where it makes sense to have females on.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, definitely. And I think there's definitely work to be done there. Currently, the only way to sort of get a lot of that is through sort of third party. I know there's third party companies that make sort of parts and stuff to make like female Imperial Guard and stuff like that. That's a good thing. But it would be great if GW did stuff like that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the point that people are coming across. They shouldn't have to go to third-party retailers to get female Imperial Guard heads or whatever. They shouldn't, you know what I mean? Because the sprues that they brought out more recently, like compared to what we're used to, I'm used to like putting Ork boy sprues together, and I'm like, you know. And then when I started putting Kill Team sprues together, I was like, holy smokes, the amount of bits they can get on sprues these days, and the amount of spare heads. You know what I mean? Even if they made like 2 out of 10 Gene Stealer cultist heads as like female with sort of female haircuts or whatever, or I don't know. You know, there is room for it. There's no reason not to. You know what I mean? I think that's the point that some female players are trying to get across that aren't pushing a hardline political agenda or whatever. I think, you know, there is a point to be made. You know what I mean? This goes back to the most vocal and most extreme branding a whole group, if you get me. I think I don't think you're saying that. I don't think you're saying that, you know, the social justice warrior females, you know, they represent all of the females. That's ridiculous.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Like exactly. I say, it is a vocal minority, and it's unfortunately it's the same as in politics and stuff and things. It's those those extreme far left, far right groups and things and different. They end up almost becoming the representation of that group, and it's not right, and it's not really fair because they don't speak for the majority of the group. And but yeah, I think you're right. We probably do need more representation within certain factions where it fits the lore and the fluff, and done for the right reasons because it makes sense. Like you say, within an Imperial Guard regiment, there is going to be almost a 50-50 split and everything, and it makes sense. Like you say, the idea of having female orcs, or any gender orcs. Orcs is a difficult one. Orcs is a weird one because, like you say, they're called boys, but they're not actually boys as such. It's
I don't know. I think some people would argue that they are male in their sort of physiology and terminology used within the faction.
Again, in and of itself. We're putting our own sort of idea of
projecting
sex onto them, isn't it? They're loud hooligan, you know, football hooligans out for a good scrap. So Of course, they're going to be called boys.
Football hooligans in space. Yeah, that's
And
Orcs,
a big tyrannid creature giving birth to those things is obviously, called a Norn queen, or we project it as a female. It's a strange thing. It's strange times we're in, where we end up sort of
interesting.
discussing.
I think I'd say interesting times we're in at the moment. It's very interesting. It's interesting for 40k because I'm just intrigued to see what way it goes, even just for orcs. Like, I'm very interested to see what is in that codex. I'm also interested to see that's how Speed Freaks itself, as a self-contained game, will be. Now, I'm not expecting anything magical out of it. I'm looking for it to probably somewhere along the same lines as Lost Patrol or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't expect it to be like Space Hulk quality. Like Space Hulk is Space Hulk and Hero Quest are the holy grail of like Games Workshop standalone games in my eyes. Poor games, they really are. Space Hulk and Hero Quest. I don't think it'll be up there. I think it'll be somewhere along the Lost Patrol sort of era. You know what I mean? And definitely not that era.
I don't have a huge amount of interest in the game itself, although it may be a good, fun game to play. I'm much more interested in pitting my orcs against other factions and things, and using the contents of that box for that.
Might be a Brucey. Yeah, might be a bonus. Yeah, it might be a Brucey bonus if it's a decent game.
Yeah, I think that's, like you say, a Brucey bonus. I think if it's a fun game within itself, then cool. But I think for myself, like a lot of other players, we're probably just going to be getting it for the miniatures within the box to add to our armies. It's not the thing. I'm hoping we see more than what's currently just announced with buggies and stuff. Because, like I say, it's very Speed Freak heavy, and there's sort of what I envision my army to be is sort of very different from that. So I'm hoping there's a little bit more on the horizon that appeals a bit more to my taste. As cool as all these buggies and things look, and I probably will end up getting some of these buggies and War Boss on Trike and things like that. I'm hoping to see some other stuff as well.
Well, I think that's part of the problem we've had with the likes of the Index and the likes of the 7th edition Codex is I think orcs have been portrayed in one sort of dimension, and now they're sort of looking into Speed Freaks as well, which is sort of bringing in the twofold, where it's just been, well, orcs are just hordes of orc boys, but orc armies are totally varied. It depends upon the war boss, and that's been established in the lore in and of itself. You know, the tactics that each army will use, and the units that will be in the unit are all dependent on the personality of the war boss that leads the army. And I don't think they reflect that enough currently.
Currently I think it's very sort of goth style faction is kind of, certainly in the meta, is the way to go. The boys before toys, which is cool, but that, like you say, that only represents one sort of facet of the orcs. There are a whole other range of, every different clan, every different tribe has its own style of warfare, and it's the variation on the theme. You might have mech heavy lists, dread mobs. You might have a Speed Freak style fully mounted army. You might have the more feral type, and then you've got your Death Skulls with loads of looted wagons and looted vehicles from other factions and stuff. So the best thing that this codex is going to bring, hopefully, is the viability of those different types of orc armies. So no matter what theme you take your army in, it's going to be competitive. It might not be top tier, but currently where we sit, I think from my experiences dabbling with sort of themed armies and things on the tabletop has generally not panned out well. And currently with the Index, the only real tactic I've found great success with is throwing hordes and hordes and hordes of boys at the enemy. And that's good and that's fun in itself, but I want a bit more variety, and I want to be able to make more viable different types of armies with my orcs.
Oh, it gets very boring very quickly.
Yes, it
Very
does.
boring very quickly. It's like, it's no fun for your opponent because he has to wait. He or she, sorry, has to wait.
Hey, nice.
Has to wait a year and a day for you to complete your movement phase. Well, obviously it speeds up as they kill more of your guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're
Yeah,
there forever, like moving these bloody orcs, and it's people starting using movement trays and stuff. It's like, you know, it's too one dimensional for me. I like using a lot of Dacia, and I think the new codex will bring that in line. I like having fire support for my boys as they go in. I'm not like bad moon levels of Dacia, but I do like some fire support. And I think the new
Yeah,
codex hopefully will bring that sort of, bring orcs back into line with the shooting. For instance, the Dacia rule that they sneak peeked us, where we'll always hit on sixes, and that'll
beautiful.
generate an additional hit. I think that's perfect. That's exactly what we needed. And if the codex is more along the lines of the type of that, it's looking to be a good codex if it's headed in that direction. But who knows? We'll probably find out a week or 2 weeks from now. You know yourself.
Yeah, hopefully. There was some other news announced just today as well, actually, that we've got to cover, and that's of course the second big FAQ.
Oh, people were losing it as well. They're like, "Oh my God, September is nearly." This is it. You have to prepare yourself mentally now for the Ork Codex to come out on the 28th of October. All right.
Oh, jeez,
You have to be ready because
God,
people
no.
were losing it. People were absolutely losing it. You said there'd be an FAQ in September, and
Well, there's some good. From what I've read of it, I had a skim over some of the stuff that's announced in this FAQ, and from what I read of it, it looks like pretty good stuff to me. The sort of the key points I picked up on was the new rules to reserves, where they did it in I think the last FAQ or chapter approved, where no longer could you bring on your sort of scouting, infiltrating units and deep striking units on turn one. Now they've taken it one step further, and they said you can bring on no reserves in turn one of any kind, in any way, which I think is kind of a good thing. It stops those sort of turn one alpha strike type scenarios and things, and I don't think it's going to affect the way people play the game too much. Reserves, the whole point of them is to be brought on a little bit later to help out a bit later on in the game. They've also brought out the new stratagem, which this I quite like, especially for us all players. This is going to be quite useful for us, I think. Prepared positions. So for 2 command points, you can use this if you are going second. If the other player wins the roll-off and you don't steal the initiative and they've got first turn, you can use this stratagem to give your entire army cover saves, whether they're in cover or not. Which will help you weather the storm of that first turn shooting, which is quite a cool little stratagem, I think, and can be very useful. I mean, I don't know about yourself, but for me, I very rarely get first turn because I usually outnumber my opponent 3-1 at least.
yeah.
So, I mean, it helped recently where they don't automatically get first turn. It goes to sort of a roll-off and they get a +1, but even then I'm still usually getting second turn. So yeah, I think this is going to be quite a useful stratagem for us all players actually. Cover saves for your whole army is nothing to be sniffed at for 2 command points. That could be potentially very useful, especially if you're coming up against like some really shooty armies. That's going to help you weather that storm, I think, on that first turn.
I don't think it stacks on corn cover saves though, does it? From
No,
what
if it says if you're in cover anyway, it doesn't buff the cover further. It purely gives cover to units that are either only partially on terrain or on no terrain at all.
So it's a little something to keep you going, to try and weather the storm.
Yeah. It's going to be very sort of dependent on scenarios, terrain that you've got on the board, the mission you're playing, the faction you're playing against.
Yeah, where you've deployed, that type of stuff. The multiple variables that come with the game.
I mean, I misread it at first. I thought it was just a thing that you got automatically if you had second turn. And I thought, God, this is going to be horrendous. When I'm coming up against Space Marines, they're all going to be getting 2+ saves. If I get first turn, I'm thinking, now it's swung the other way. Getting first turn is going to be shit. But no, I see that it's actually a stratagem. And it costs, it's not a cheap stratagem, 2 command points. Command points are valuable.
They changed that as well, though, didn't he?
Yeah, that brings us on to the next sort of important bit in the FAQ, the tactical restraint rule, where you've got characters and things that can gain command points throughout the game by, once they've used their stratagem, they can roll a dice on a 5+, they gain back a command point and things like that. Now you can't stack those. So if you've got several characters in your faction that can do this, you can't basically farm command points. Now you will only be able to use one of these special rules per turn. So you won't be they won't be farming huge amounts of command points. Again, any sort of loophole in the rules, someone out there will find a way to exploit it, especially in tournaments and things. So obviously they've become aware of this and tweaked that somewhat. And that's, again, I think it's another positive thing. It sort of brings the game into line with how they intended, it to be played, rather than sort of a circumstance of rules and things.
Well, this is it. This is what I like about the FAQ. It stops people from exploiting things, and when loopholes are found, they're shutting them down. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, it does sort of confuse the game somewhat. When you're getting chapter approved and FAQs and erratas and stuff, it makes it hard for new players. When you think you just buy a rule book and then that's the rules, and then the veteran player, the other side of the table, is saying, no, that's not actually what's in your rule book. It's not the rule now because they released an FAQ on the website. And as a new player, you're probably stood there thinking, what? The rules are in the rule book, surely. But so I can kind of see when people are bleating and sort of moaning about these constant FAQs and erratas, but I think on the whole, generally, these are a really good thing because they keep the game balanced and they fix these loopholes and these things that people exploit. I think it's a good thing, and I'm yet to see anything in these chapter approved or FAQs that they're bringing out that I disagree with. Every time I read it, I think, yeah, good, that makes sense. I can see the logic and the reasons why they've done it, and I'm sure lots of people out there will disagree with me and have varying opinions, but I like what I see personally.
Well, this is it. It's a bit of a double-edged sword having them come out at this speed, because that's what I think the Space Wolf Codex suffered from, wasn't it? Their command points, I think, were updated. Was there not an errata or an FAQ on the Space Wolf Codex either as it was released or just after it was released? Or something along that lines.
Yeah, I can't remember the full details of it.
I'm not a Space Wolf player myself, so I don't know.
I think a part of the big uproar about the Space Wolf Codex was that it was basically released with broken rules and things, and sort of just flat out mistakes and errors that got through the editing process. And so I think it needed quite an urgent errata to fix a lot of those issues. I don't know if it was necessarily for sort of a balance and competitive reasons. I think it was just literally, shit, we fucked up, we need to fix this. Something slipped through the editing process. But it's good. I mean, years ago, we used to have to just, if there was something screwed up in your codex, that was it. Tough shit, you had to put up with it for quite some time.
Rip out the old Tipex there and crit stick the new errata over it. I've seen people who do that. I think it's hilarious. It makes sense though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're going to be getting it. I mean, by the end of October, once we've got our codex at the beginning of October, towards the end of October, we're going to be getting an errata. I think it's every 2 weeks after a codex is released, isn't it? The errata comes out. So I'm sure our codex will have some loopholes and some broken things in it, and some things that are worded poorly, which they will have to bring out FAQ for. Which it's the times we live in now, isn't it? FAQs and erratas. This DLC for codexes.
DLCs basically. And not even just that.
Day one patches.
Products in general, the stuff has been coming hard and fast, man. The amount of codexes that have come out. like if you look at the amount of products they've released in over the past 2 years, and then if you go back over like the previous 5 years before that, it's like night and day. Look at the Kill Team stuff. Kill Team
Oh
box set
no,
comes
it's
out,
just
expansions, the Commanders expansion. Uh, Look at the like even just like Conquest magazine. I know we harp on about that, but the last time I saw something like the Conquest magazine was the Lord of the Rings back in 2000 and leading whatever, back in the early 2000s. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
there's a massive change. A lot of the codexes, the FAQs, and the erratas are coming out more often. They're getting engaged with the tournaments. You know what I mean? They're getting directly engaged with them, and they're using them to develop the game to try and fix exploits, so that it's not just people gaming the system, which I like. I don't like people gaming a system. Some people see it as a valid way to play the game. That's not my style. That might be your style, and fair play to you. If that's how you like to play the game. I'm not ultra competitive myself, so I don't see it, but I can understand how other people can see the novelty and that sort of thing, where you find an exploit and you'll get the most out of it, and winning is sort of the objective of the game at the end of it. I suppose it is, but you know yourself. If I'd prefer to lose badly and have enjoyed it than to win, absolutely smash my opponent, and he's had an absolute shit game. You know what I mean? That's
Oh,
just me.
there's nothing fun about that. There's nothing fun about that. If you're beating someone and you're in a way like that, and they're not enjoying the game, if my opponent's not enjoying the game, I can't enjoy the game. It's literally impossible for me to enjoy the game. I think both players need to be having fun, and you get these moments of frustration and stuff, which we all get, and annoyance at dice rolls and things and stuff. But yeah, if you feel like the game's stacked against you or something, it's not fun for either player. But again, like you say, there's players out there that they don't care. They just want to win, and they say, I guess you probably see a lot more of this on the tournament scene. The tournament scene is something I've never. No, I've only played in very small local tournaments, and at a very local club level, and it's very friendly and quite laid back. So I'm completely, out of the loop on that. I've never played in any of these big tournaments and stuff, but I'm sure you run into players like that in those scenarios where it's just win at all costs, especially if there's a large cash prize, I guess. But no, I think the main aspect is to have a fun, balanced game. Both players get to achieve some stuff within the game, whether whoever wins or loses, and these erratas and FAQs and stuff, I think are doing the right thing in keeping the game balanced, keeping it fun, and it's a positive, really, really good thing. And but yeah, the release schedule, like you say, GW is, I can't keep up with it currently. It's
a bit mad, isn't it?
Oh, it's crazy, and it's almost moving too fast in a sense, but then I have to.
we're never happy.
Remind myself. No, we're never happy.
It's like the releases are too slow, or sweet Jesus, there's too much stuff.
Yeah, it's like when they brought out, as we discussed earlier about the Kill Team stuff. I was like, geez, I've only just barely started. I'm still recovering from my injuries from building the terrain. For God's sake, I haven't even healed up from that experience yet. And you're throwing more stuff at me, but a lot of this stuff's optional. You don't have to take it. We can play this game in any way we want. So people can play 40k straight from the rulebook, and not even have any knowledge of FAQs or erratas or these things that are online and these updates. I'm sure there's plenty of players out there that are happily playing games as we speak of 40k from the rulebook and have no idea that there are expanded rules and expansions and fixes and stuff, and they're having a whale of a time. And I'll probably continue to do that with Kill Team. Just play what's in the box and in that one book.
The core book, yeah, it just depends. I suppose it has to do with your group. If you guys decide amongst yourselves, listen, guys, I'm not really a fan of the new Commanders expansion they brought out. I think it breaks the game once you've gotten the copy and read it, which I haven't. I'm just speaking hypothetically here. You and your mates might decide, actually, you don't really want to go down the leader part of it. Let's just stick to the core rule book. You know what I mean? And you and your mates might decide that, but then for other people, they may not have that option. You know what I mean? you're going down to your local gaming store and everybody buys an expansion that you sort of need just to stay in the loop. That can also happen. Like I said, I haven't gotten the Commander's expansion in my hand yet. I haven't had a read of it, and my experience with Kill Team has been very limited, but also very positive. But it just depends on your scene. There's nothing wrong with mates deciding, look, let's just play Third Edition, and
yeah, and there's a lot of people out there doing that still.
Exactly, there's old school gamers still playing second. You probably see a lot more of it in the old school Warhammer communities. People who play Ninth Age or whatever, they're making their own community rules. I'm part of a Gorka Morka group on Facebook, sure. And there's guys still going. There's guys writing the community editions where they come to a consensus where it's like, how would you interpret this rule? Blah blah blah. That wasn't quite cleared up. There's some wiggly stuff in the rules section, and they'll try and hash it out, and people play it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Codex. I have positive vibes in the direction that it'll potentially go from what little tidbits we have seen. The information may have dried up, but I'm still optimistic and trying to be patient. And I'd say that to the other guys out there, and yourself included. I know it's going to be a bit of a bummer that we're not going to have the Codex in our hand on the 1st of October. I don't think that's going to happen unless they pull an absolute blinder out. But I'd be very surprised if we're there with our Ork Codex on the 1st of October. But yeah, it'll be grand. We'll get there in the end. What little bits we have seen seem to be good and in a positive direction. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure you're of the same opinion yourself. Yeah.
I am, mate. I am. My frustrations and things are purely from the overexcitement and how much I want it. But I think it's. I'm full of positive, hopeful, optimistic vibes. Let's say, and yeah, I'm just ecstatic and excited, and I am like the child on Christmas Eve, desperate to open my first present. I want some new Orky goodness. I want some new good rules and buffs and balances to the Codex to throw at my opponent. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait, man.
Well, that's. I think we'll wrap it up here then. So, like we've said before, if you're not subscribed to 6 Plus Stevo or myself, Skarnir, get yourself subscribed and hit those bell buttons for the notifications as we alternate the 2 bald knobs episodes. As you can tell, this one will be on Stevo's channel, and then obviously the next one will be mine, and then his. You get it yourself. So if you want to listen to the whole of the 2 bald knob series, subscribe to both of our channels. We'll throw links up in the video and at the end, so you can make it that little bit easier for you guys. And that'll be it for me. I'm signing out from you now, and himself.
Yes, man. And just to add to that briefly, you will want to subscribe to Skarnir's channel, definitely, because the next episode of 2 Bald Knobs, by then it won't be a slow news week, and I'm sure we will have loads to talk about regarding Orktober, because we'll be well in the thick of it by then. So yeah, please do subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And also, while you're at it, come join our Facebook group. 2 Bald Knobs now has its own Facebook group where we both upload our videos and our podcasts and other tidbits and stuff. And come and check it out, guys. The 2 Bald Knobs Facebook group. Come and join, and you'll be notified of videos and lots of Orky goodness.
Whatever shenanigans we get up to in between now and then.
Oh, yeah.
Right, go on. Take it easy, guys. Good luck.
All right, guys. 6 Plus Stevo, signing out.